This week, we're going to talk about flow sheets, embarrassing moments, confidence, and yes, W.E.B. Du Bois, with special guest, Coach David Peterson.
Hello, Learning Leaders family. I'm happy to be here.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ask Learning Leaders show. We are here on episode 14 with special guest, the one, the only, Dr. David Peterson. We're here in a rainy day in Shanghai, a little bit gross outside. Coach, what do you do on rainy days?
On rainy days, it's the best opportunity to sit at home, read a good book, catch up on the events of the day, current events.
Love it.
Sometimes watch a good drama or two.
Good drama or two? You heard it here first, catching up on good books, current events, and dramas. Speaking of drama, I think we should get into the questions for today.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm so excited.
All right, let's fire it up here. First question.
Hi, my name is Suji, and I want to know why flow sheets benefit us in debate. Thank you.
Suji, why flow sheets benefit us in debate? Coach, what do you think?
Suji, this is an excellent question. It's a question that many students ask. Often students who are beginning in debate are not sure exactly why they need to use a flow sheet. But the flow sheet accomplishes many things. First of all, it helps you to keep your own ideas organized. If you write down your arguments on the flow sheet, the key evidence that you want to emphasize, and your partner's points, you can develop your arguments in an organized way. You can extend your partner's arguments, which is very important. So just at the level of individual personal organization, flow sheets are key. Secondly, flow sheets provide you with a record of the entire debate. Oftentimes when we're giving feedback to students, and maybe at the end of the debate, I'm talking to the students and saying, okay, now let's look at the second affirmative speech and the second argument that was made. If the students can't look down at their flow sheet and know exactly what I'm referring to and have a clear map of the overall debate, sometimes it's hard to sort of follow along and understand the feedback. So the flow sheet is a powerful tool to give you a map of the entire debate that you can use for future reference. And I would say the third thing is when you're giving those final speeches, the flow sheet allows you to just look at a single glance and look at how the debate has progressed, and it helps you to identify those key important issues that you want to emphasize as having perhaps the largest impact, helping you to provide a big picture analysis of the whole debate, to provide that crucial synthesis that's necessary for success.
Absolutely. So internal, your own organization, being able to then look back, feedback for later on, records, you can even keep them in a binder or take notes on them, coach's feedback. And then also in the debate itself, super helpful for the synthesis generation, right?
That's right. When I was a college debater, if I ever lost a flow sheet, my coach would kill me. I'd be in big trouble. You had to keep your flow sheet. Your flow sheet was like sacred. There was
put it under your pillow.
Yeah, you had an organized system of your flow sheet, so we could look. One time it's okay, so last year at that debate competition we were at Harvard University in round 3 against Wake Forest University, what was their main contention that they went for at the very end of the debate? Here it is. And we had a full record. It's an amazing tool.
It's amazing. It's kind of like game tape for an athlete, right? If you're playing basketball, if you're playing soccer, you have that game tape, you have that record of the debate, that stat sheet, and you can go back and just refer to it whenever you want.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know about you, David, but for me, using flow sheets almost was similar to my assignment book when I was in 5th or 6th grade. I don't know about you guys, but I used to think that I was so smart that I didn't need to write any of my homework down, that I could just remember everything, but then inevitably I would forget something, right? And I think flow sheets are kind of the same way. You think you can remember all the arguments in the debate, but just writing it down helps so much.
You miss one single argument. That could be the difference between winning the debate and losing the debate. So play it safe. Write it down on your flow. It's all right there. It's only going to help your speech become more efficient. It's only going to help your speech become more sharp and crisp and allow you to capture all of the important ideas.
Boom. Flow sheets. Suji. Listen well. All right. Let's go on to question number 2.
Hi, my name's Evan, and I want to know, what is the most embarrassing debate experience you've ever had?
Most embarrassing debate experience you've ever had.
Wow.
What do you think?
Well, Evan, thanks for the question. This brings back some tough memories because anybody who's willing to engage in debate is going to have some embarrassing experiences. Because everybody who engages in debate is a brave individual who's willing to put themselves out there in front of others to express their opinions, to have your peers tell you that they think you're wrong, to have a judge tell you that they think, well, your peers did a better job than you. Oftentimes there's an audience that's watching this go down, so you're setting yourself up for other people to look at your mistakes, to identify your mistakes, to point out your mistakes. This is a very tough thing to do.
Stuff.
And to have the willingness to do it. This is why we congratulate all debaters, everyone at Learning Leaders, because just being willing to enter into a debate is already a big accomplishment.
It's huge.
But for me, if I had to isolate one of the most embarrassing moments, there have been many, a lot of mistakes. But my first debate competition in a form of debate called policy debate, when I was a sophomore in college, policy debate is a very rigorous form of debate. If you look it up on the internet, you'll see students speaking very fast, very heavily focused on evidence, the type of evidence that you use. I entered into a debate tournament. My coach convinced me to take a challenge, and when I got up to give my speech, some of you may be surprised, I had no idea what was going on in the debate. I tried my best, but I couldn't really speak for much more than 1 minute. I just didn't know what was going on. This was my first debate competition. I felt like a failure. I felt like everybody thought I was stupid, to be honest. I felt like everybody thought, who is this guy? Why is he here? He's ruining our debate. So it was a very embarrassing moment, and I knew I had to go through the whole competition in this way. So I wanted to give up. I wanted to quit. Thankfully, I had a good coach who convinced me that this is all a part of what it means to become a good debater. Not just a good debater, but a good thinker, someone who can persevere and persist through a challenge. So it was very embarrassing. I thought everybody thought I was the worst student in the whole competition, but I persisted. Soon, I was winning that very same competition where a couple years earlier, I couldn't even give a 30-second speech. So let that be, I hope everybody can sort of take that in, to know that debate is a tough activity. It can be really tough when you take your first steps, but it's a rewarding activity if you persist and you can overcome those embarrassing moments. What do you think, Coach?
I mean, definitely embarrassing moments as well. Probably not the same mistakes as you, but because when I was, I didn't compete at the same stakes as you. But I have one pretty specific embarrassing moment that rings out. I was doing parliamentary debate in high school, and I went up and I was the PM, the Prime Minister, and I went up and I gave this speech that I thought I totally knocked out of the park. I crushed it. I laid out the case very, very simply. I even gave a pre-rebuttal to a case that I thought my opponent was going to make.
Crucial.
I ended in this 30-second, chock full of rhetoric, brilliant finish. I had some triplets in there. I had some anaphora in there. I was asking questions and then answering them and doing all this stuff. I sat down. Everyone applauded. I was so happy. My opponent then went up and congratulated me on my speech because I just supported their side.
Oh.
So I just argued for 5 minutes completely for the opposite side. I was totally out of my element. I just totally goofed.
Wow.
My partner was not psyched.
Wow.
Was not psyched. Ouch. So Patrick's making this ouchy sound.
Bad story.
It's the classic case of a soccer player scoring a goal for the other team,
just
hitting it in the wrong goal. You
Terrible.
get it in the wrong basket. That's tough, devastating. How did you overcome that? How did you deal with that embarrassing moment?
Man, I don't even think I did deal with it. I think I was pretty immature about it, honestly. I think I just sat there and just fumed. Once I realized what I did, I was a high school student. I wasn't that experienced in the activity, and I just sat there with my head in my hands probably for the next 30 minutes. I was just so embarrassed because I totally messed up my teammates' chance to be successful too. But, the stakes weren't that high. It was just a high school friendly debate, and definitely learning from that experience. I think that, it really comes into preparation, just making sure you're always getting ready for the debate properly.
It's interesting how even small embarrassing moments in the moment that it's happening, you feel like nobody's ever gonna forget. They're always gonna associate you with the embarrassing moments, but it passes.
Yeah, and probably if I didn't share that, no one probably would ever remember.
Yeah.
Right? But I know it. Yeah. All right, Patrick. What about you? What's an embarrassing moment from university or high school?
None.
None.
Don't get embarrassed.
Guys, Coach Patrick doesn't get embarrassed. It's impossible to embarrass him.
Yeah, that's why he's on the team.
All right, let's get on to our last question for today.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I want to ask Learning Leaders, what do the coaches think is the most important thing during debate?
The most important thing during debate. It's a broad question, Ashley. We could take this in any number of which ways. Where do you want to go with it, Coach? What do you think?
This is a tough one. Debate, as we know, brings together so many different skills. There's so many different elements to debate. That's what makes it such a great activity. You have to develop your own arguments with evidence. You have to respond to your opponent's arguments in a convincing way. You have to flow and keep track of the entire debate. You have to do all this in a short, limited period of time. There's never enough time to prepare. You have to tie things together and make sense of what is often a messy exchange in the early parts of the debate by the end. So there's so much to do. But I would say one thing that you always need to do in debate that many people have a hard time with is projecting confidence at all times. I think if you can remember to project confidence, there's such a strong perceptual element of debate. I mean, how do you know if you won or lost the debate? Who decides if you won or lost the debate?
You do.
Yes, and the judge plays an important role, right? The judge is looking at both teams, and the judge is looking at who seems like they are the most confident. So the debate begins from the very moments that you walk into the room. The first moments you walk into the room until the debate is over, you're communicating to the judge. You're communicating to the judge about how you feel about your arguments. So oftentimes, if debaters end their speech and they think that they've made a mistake, the buzzer will ring, they know their time is up, and they'll often go, oh, no.
And then they give it away right there, right?
The judge may not have noticed that there was a mistake that was being made, but you let the judge know, I made a mistake, and I know I made a mistake. So the judge is already thinking, well, this is likely not the winning side.
Or a team member, right? If your team member goes up there and then your team member goes, smacks their head on the table, that's not a confident team member too, right?
And it's often difficult because it's hard to project confidence in debate because you know your arguments are limited. You have limited time to prepare. None of us are experts in the individual topics that we debate, so it's hard to project confidence when we're dealing with a limited amount of information in a limited amount of time. But you just have to go in there and be confident with what you're saying, confident with what you're arguing. Of course, there's going to be mistakes. You'll learn from the judge, from your competitors, from your peers. You review your flow and you'll reflect on your own mistakes. But in the moment, project confidence. Be confident in what you're saying and in your responses. And I think that is one thing that everybody can focus on doing right now. What do you think is a way to help students become more confident? How do you think students can actually feel? It's one of these easier said than done things.
It's one of those things where you just say, be confident. It's like giving someone the advice in a game of soccer, score. Right?
Yeah.
It's not particularly helpful.
Yeah.
But one particular tactical approach I think you can take to confidence is preparation. Right? And preparation comes down to kind of a macro level preparation, which is practicing more frequently. Right? Not taking 6 months off debate, but doing it once a week, or going to a competition 3 times a year to make sure that you have that fresh in your memory, in that muscle memory. So on the macro level, practicing consistently, like any great athlete, like any great musician, like any great singer-songwriter would, right? And then the second component would be to prepare as thoroughly as you can for the debate. I mean, you mentioned, and I completely agree with that, you never have enough time to prepare. You always wish you had more time. But if you can prepare as effectively as you can to allow you that feeling of, okay, I did everything that I could before this debate. There was nothing more I could have done. that will at least give you that little extra boost of confidence going into the debate where you feel, you know what, I'm gonna rock it.
Yep.
All right, I think it's time now for your favorite segment and mine, the quotation of the day.
Quotation of the day!
All right, so the quotation of today is in honor of David's son, William. And this is from another William, Mr. W.E.B. Du Bois. And David, you want to share?
Sure. So, W.E.B. Du Bois, really fascinating figure, really fascinating individual from history. He's most commonly known as the first African American to get a PhD from Harvard, but that doesn't even tell the entire story. At the time that he was alive, he was probably the most educated person in the world. He also got a PhD from the University of Berlin, which at that time was the top university. But in fact, the University of Berlin didn't accept his coursework from Harvard because they didn't even view Harvard as a sufficiently high-level institution. W.E.B. Du Bois, throughout his life, published over 80,000 pages of analysis across a range of fields. He traveled the world. He worked with the government. He was an ambassador for African Americans in the United States, but people all over the world. He was greeted in China. He was greeted in Japan as a dignitary. Fascinating individual. Amazing. I encourage everybody to go study and learn a little bit about W.E.B. Du Bois. But he has a very important quote that we want to share, and I think is really relevant to the process of learning how to become a debater, to become an intellectual, to become confident with your ideas. W.E.B. Du Bois said, "The most important thing to remember is this: to be ready at any moment to give up what you are for what you might become."
That's good. That is good. So, Coach, how do we interpret this in debate?
Well, we could interpret this a lot of ways. I think one of the things I want to emphasize is, first of all, becoming a debater. A lot of students begin debate class and maybe they have some very specific ideas of what they are. Well, I'm an athlete. I play sports. I'm on the basketball team. People don't know me as an intellectual young man or woman. I don't talk about current events, or I don't raise my hand and speak out in class and try to make arguments and points and engage in the discussion because I'm an athlete. Some people might think, well, I'm kind of a class clown type of person. I like to make jokes. People know me as a nice, funny person, but they don't know me as a serious intellectual type. So I'm not really a debater. So there's many different identities that somebody could associate themselves with and think, well, this is what I am, and often be reluctant when they come to debate class to throw themselves in the process of debating, which is making a case for a particular set of ideas to support or oppose a topic, to throw themselves into that, to be willing to sound smart, to go where the evidence is, to speak with confidence. They're often unwilling to do that because they don't associate themselves with that type of person. So I would say, first of all, be willing to become a debater. You don't necessarily have to give up who you are, but you can open up a whole new dimension of yourself just by being willing to.
Giving yourself that opportunity, right?
Yes.
Giving yourself that opportunity to engage in a new facet of your personality.
I think
in
so.
a new piece of yourself. I think already right there, that's something that holds a lot of people back, right?
Yep. You are all young people, so the question of what you are is very much an open question. So don't restrict yourself to this idea of what you think you are or what other people think you are. I think Coach Mike made a comment in an Ask Learning Leaders episode in the past of a camp counselor that you had that said, "Let your freak flag fly." I thought that was such a great comment. Just be willing to be and do who you want to be, regardless of what others think you are. So I think that's really important. Come to debate and just be willing to become a debater. You never know what this could open up if you're willing to throw yourselves into the preparation.
All right. Well, I think that's an awesome way to end here. So W.E.B. Du Bois, we're going to be keeping that in mind for next week until next episode. All right, well, thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely reach out to us on Instagram, Snapchat, email, talk to your coaches, let us know the questions you have, and we'll see you next time.
Be safe out there this summer.
Thanks, guys.